rewind it a little bit to becoming a new dad, becoming a husband.
Yeah.
You didn't have that example, right?
Yeah.
How did you learn how to become a father and learn how to become a husband?
By failing forward, without a doubt, a handful of things, right? So it's like, first thing I would say is my grandpa was the man in my life who stepped in and raised me.
Okay.
And he bridged that gap. Awesome human being. We lost him a couple years ago, right? And it was like losing a dad.
Yeah.
So very profound and grateful for all of the lessons.
That was your mom's dad?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. And so grateful for all of those lessons that he taught me over that, 30 years or so.
Yeah.
And then secondly would be for sure my wife's dad. He really did an awesome job filling that role as well. And just teaching me early on. I remember sitting in his garage when like Jen and I were fighting in an argument, just like talking to me about like how to work through this stuff and how to navigate these waters, because I had no idea and nobody to go to. So he taught me an immense amount. And then honestly, it's like my relationship with Jenna, with my wife. She is one of my biggest advocates, and she will help coach me inside of these moments to where it's like maybe you're too aggressive, or maybe you blew up too much, or whatever the situation was, or like, hey, like babe, like I saw how you handled that. That was so hot, like, right? So it's like I think so many guys don't know this, that this is a secret. Like, women
being
are
a good
so
dad
profoundly attracted to a good father.
Yeah.
Someone that can be there and instead of like, just disciplining the kids or always being the authoritarian person, it's like you can be all of those things and still have some compassion and still have the empathy and still, teach them the things that I didn't get taught. That's one of the coolest things. I mean, you as well grew up without a father. It's like the coolest thing we get to do is to teach our kids the things that nobody taught us. And we get to do it at 5, 9, 10. I learned it at 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like imagine how much we get to set them up. So that's why I always say it's like it's a blessing and a curse. Growing up without a father, where could I be? Who knows? But I can tell you, I know for a fact where I'd be if my biological father stayed in my life, and I wouldn't be sitting here living this lifestyle. I can promise that.
Yeah. No, that's the complete truth. And for me, where I learned how to father is, by watching my brother, by watching my best friend Jesse, by watching my wife's dad, and he was one I didn't appreciate a lot at first, because he's a much more laid back individual than I am, right? And as I grew as a father, I look at this man and I'm like, this dude will do anything to serve his family and love his family, and that's honorable, and through the Bible, honestly, like that's where I learned a lot of my parenting. Now, the problem for me early on is, okay, I'm law driven. I haven't accepted grace yet, and I'm like, well, this is what the Bible says. We have to do it like this, exactly like this, right? And the Bible it's a good rule for life, but you got to figure things out that work for your family, right? And if you're living in pursuit of that true north, that may not be the same thing for everybody, but if you're living in pursuit of that, your family's going to fall into place, right? And you're gonna find those roles that you fit into with your spouse, and so it took me many years to figure that out. And I use the Bible out of context sometimes, trying to gain control of my marriage, being a father. But yeah, that's where I learned a lot of that, and coming into my 30s now, it's like it clicks more, especially when you add grace into that, So
it's so good into your 30s. I thought when I turned 30, I felt like this snap happened. It's like, wow, you have operated the last 29 years knowing absolutely nothing, yet you thought you knew so much. Like, I don't know what it was about 30, and that got me so excited for 40. If it's like something about the decade change, it's like, dude, I thought I knew stuff at 29 or all these years prior. I thought I was a good dad. I thought I was a good husband. I thought I was a good entrepreneur, a good business owner. And now I just realized I'm not. Yeah. But now I am, and I can be. It's like I'm going to be 40 in 8 years or whatever. Right. I'm going to look back and say, like, you were 30 and you thought you had to figure it out. Yeah. It's so cute.
Yeah, that's so cute. Oh, I look back at 20-year-old Will, and I'm like, man, what an asshole.
Don't stay there too long.
Yeah, don't stay there long at all.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't understand how people relive their glory days, because I look back on that and I'm like, sure, high school was a great time. Had fun, no cares in the world, right? Got into trouble. I get into college and I have kids real young, I didn't finish school because I wanted to work. I was not a school person either, and it's funny that two entrepreneurs that didn't finish college or do college, and looking where we're at now, sure, we're not billionaires. We were talking about that earlier, right? Yeah. But we're living lives and we've designed our lives around how we want to live,
That's it.
And the finances come, you figure it out, and God provides. Yeah, that is pretty cool though. But yeah, I mean, going back to having a father, what does that look like? I've seen many people get screwed up by their fathers because their fathers weren't intentional, they weren't around, or they were there but they weren't present. And how much worse could that have been? I've pursued, or where I was going with talking about the faith thing is, for me, I put my faith in it, or my, I kind of made God my father early on, and that's where I tried to learn from, tried to live from, and so it allowed me to put a lot more confidence in him at a younger age, because I didn't have that physical earthly father, but then you find these other mentors, and I was very blessed to my brother. Not everybody knows this, but he's not my biological brother. And we, now we've been brothers 23 years, but he was originally paired with me through Big Brothers Big Sisters, with the second longest standing relationship in Indianapolis with that, which is pretty cool. And that's a whole other story about how we found that out. But we haven't been in the program for 20 years, but we have coffee every Wednesday, and he has been a huge mentor in my faith, in business, in life. And again, somebody I didn't necessarily appreciate until I had kids, or I appreciated him, but I didn't, or I took it for granted, right?
Totally.
And then when I had kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a man to learn from, you know? It was, anyways. So,
I think anybody has that hindsight, though. It's like I'm talking about like my grandfather, and it's just like same thing. And it's like I was operating in my 20s. I had no clue. I didn't see the silver the lessons that were being taught in the how to tie a fishing hook. I didn't see it all then. And it's like now he's gone, unfortunately, but I see it. I've got the clarity, and now I can pass it along to the boys and just explain it to them a little bit differently, refer to it a little bit differently, to hopefully they can catch the lesson a little bit quicker.
And if they figure that out sooner, how much more can they figure out sooner, right?
Totally. Yeah. Children, that's one of the biggest things that has probably changed my parenting, is understanding that kids don't lack capacity, they just lack a teacher. How often is it, I mean, I'm guilty, I'll raise my hand first one, myself and my wife. One of the greatest things we ever did was like removing like iPads and devices from their life freely, not to like cast shame on any devices. They certainly serve a value.
Sure.
But it was like the unfiltered lens that they were allowed to have access to the world that made them act out. It made them crazy. It made them hearing things and saying things that at that age they should not even know. I certainly didn't know about it until 20 or whatever, right? And it's like, so they had so much access to information. And then when the device was removed, like they would act out so much. And it was just like, wow, like this is really interesting. You start like analyzing this stuff. But I think it's very easy, especially for today's parents. Like we're always on the go. We're always busy, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're employed somewhere. It's like it's very easy to fall back on that. Like here, just
be quiet. Yeah, let me work out, or let me let me do whatever.
Freaking think, or cook dinner, and like all of this. And again, there's a time and place. 100%. Never bashing anyone as a parent on this. But it's like I didn't know until I knew, and then it's like, oh, like how he's acting out and how he's responding to me and the language he's using. Oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it leads to ADD and ADHD, right? Which I have arguments against that, because I do feel like ADD and ADHD can be a superpower if harnessed.
No question.
Hell, if we had our son, he'd probably get, or if we took him in, he'd probably get diagnosed for it. But it's like, no, I'm not gonna medicate that. I'm just gonna direct that
channel it exactly.
And you have to be, the easy thing to do is go, hey, take this pill, shut up. No, but you don't want easy. Easy doesn't do anything good for anyone, right? And if you can learn to channel that at a young age, sure, sometimes it's frustrating, but you learn how to channel that at a young age. Just imagine what they're capable of when they get older and they know how to harness that energy. It's pretty exciting to think about.